everybody, it's Dr. Alicia in College of Education. Welcome to Fall 2018. I can't believe the school year has started and that we are about to hit 2019. That's amazing to me. So I will be your online instructor this semester for FDN2400. Just want to let you all know this is a fully online class. We will be working asynchronously through as you learn, and I just want to give you some welcome today with this lecture and do a preview of some of the content that we're going to be working over the next couple of weeks. So let's get started. Alright, so this is FDN2400. It is Critical Perspectives on Learning and Teaching. And again, I'm Dr. Alicia. Please call me Dr. Alicia. Dr. Muhammad is very formal, so I like to go by Dr. Muhammad. And it's my pleasure to be working with all of you this semester. If you all have particular name that you go by, nickname, please let me know. Send me a message in our As You Learn site. You can click on the participants and select my name or anybody else's name in the course, and you can send a message right through As You Learn. So hopefully we're going to have 16 enlightening weeks together to share and learn from each other. I do think that you will find this course relevant and very useful for all of your future coursework in the field with students and their families. This is a very forward-thinking designed course. It's very action-oriented. I'd like to get students thinking about their practice early, especially in their first couple of semesters of their teaching education coursework. It's designed to give you a high-level view of the professional expectations that we have of you of students in the College of Ed, with the goal of serving all of the students that you will be responsible for equitably and with integrity when you begin your teaching careers. Again, I'm just going to repeat that this course is going to be facilitated as a fully online section. We will be working 100% in As You Learn for discussion, for submitting assignments, and we'll be doing some teamwork. So the expectation is that you all maintain contact with me and each other to ensure that you stay current with our weekly assignments and activities. On this slide you will find my email at AppState. I do have a appointment calendar. You all know that you may or may not know, I'm an advisor here in the College of Ed, and so my daytime 8 to 5 is working with students in elementary ed, birth to kindergarten, and family and child studies with advising through graduation. So I have a tool called Appointlet. If you can click on this link in the PowerPoint and it will take you to my the calendar, the student calendar for identifying a time to meet face-to-face. Feel free to use this. My phone number is here. If you're on campus, I believe if you're in one of the buildings, you can just dial the 8914, but if you're on the cell phone, go ahead and plug that in. And my location physically is in the James Center, Wright College of Education. The center is 105. It's pretty big. I do invite all of you all to at least come visit at some point. We have a lot of perks for education students here. We have free supplies for doing projects in your classes. We have free printing here. We have a food pantry where you can grocery shop without spending any money. Please do not spend money at Harris Teeter unless you really have to. We have a full pantry of gluten-free and food with all the gluten in it for you all and anybody on campus. We also have a limited supply of toiletries, so come on over and check us out. So please, 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 because we are a fully online class, I implore upon all of you, please stay in touch with me. Do not hesitate to contact me by email, which is the best form of contact. I usually have my email open all day. Phone is okay. I usually have a 24-hour window before returning voicemails, and then, like I said, appointment using the appointment link. Those appointments you can find, we can do a video conference, we can do a phone conference, or we can do an in-person conference. It's either, any of those three are fine, whatever is convenient for you. And remember that I do advise during the day, so if you want to do a face-to-face or have a longer period of time to talk to me, appointment is probably going to be the best way to make that happen. And I don't know how to stress this enough. If you find yourself in a position where you need support from me on any level, academic, anything in the school, anything at the university, some challenges that you may be facing, please give me an indication before it becomes a problem and interferes with your success in this class. Too many times students feel that there's nothing that they can do when life happens. This is definitely not the case. I make it a point to evaluate all situations on a case-by-case basis, and if I'm able, I will do everything in my power to help you be successful with the completion of this course and any other course that you have. Again, I'm an advisor. That's what I do. The key is I just need to know in advance. If you are floundering and you wait until assignments are due, there's not that much I can help you with. Advance notice will allow me to work with you to come up with a plan of action for your success. Okay? That, I think, is the single most counterproductive behavior in online courses, is that students do not stay in contact with their instructor. I'm going to highlight this. After working for 9 years as an online instructor, this is the #1 area where students find challenges in their online coursework. So stay in touch. Alright, so our course purpose and goals, you can see here, I'm not going to review all of these bullets, but this is a foundations class, and it's designed to provide you, the student, insight into the dynamics that have shaped education in the United States since its inception to the present day. It's a multidisciplinary survey of the social foundations of education. It deals with the human and political aspects of public schooling in the United States. What this means is that we will be critically reviewing the complex socially constructed dynamics that shape our contemporary education system, schooling in this country, and how society impacts all of our systems of teaching and learning in this country. We're going to be looking at explanations of and insights into the goals, politics, social relations, economics, and historical perspectives, among some other things, of our society over a historical period. One thing I want to highlight for you, and I put into the course outline, and I think I put a link in the week 1, the Wright College of Education Conceptual Framework. This course is explicitly connected to the College of Ed Conceptual Framework. Please review this and become familiar with it. Save it on your computers. This framework is important in understanding the college's goals and long-term vision for developing the future educators that walk through these halls every academic year. Specifically, it outlines how Wright College of Ed, the staff, faculty, and administration are committed to educating you, the pre-service teachers, in a supportive and inclusive learning environment. This vision and goal is right in line with the expectation that we have of you all as you move into your future classrooms to provide the same supportive and inclusive learning environment for your future students and their families. Right now, I'd like to reference section 2 of the framework. This is the Advancing Professional Knowledge, item D, for our immediate purposes here and making connections with this framework to the FDN2400 course. So in that section it states, we embrace approaches to education that are boldly and clearly anti-racist and anti-biased in focus. As a result, the curricular knowledge we teach must also incorporate an analysis of how topics such as diversity, multiculturalism, and social justice intersect with our social systems, for instance, our schools, especially as they are manifested on a local, state, and national level. This entails understanding the historical and contemporary dimensions of the personal and systematic forms of oppression associated with categories such as race, class, gender, sexuality, and ability. To accomplish this goal, teachers and pre-service teachers must take on distinct roles and responsibilities. Teachers must actively engage in analysis of how and what they teach their students to ensure that it supports and or disrupts systems of privilege and oppression. Pre-service teachers, you all, in turn, must develop the critical capacity to evaluate the value and validity of what you're learning from your teachers. Such capacity involves seeking out and remaining open to divergent viewpoints. It also involves critically appraising the validity of all perspectives, including the ones personally held as well as those of their teachers. Okay? So it is with this, we believe that you all should end up, once you graduate, with these particular hallmarks of proficient teaching practice. So our conceptual framework in Wright College of Ed is to ensure that you all are reflective practitioners, you all are responsive teacher leaders, you're able to critically think about your practice and its impact on the students and families that you serve, that you are positive contributors to the professional learning community in your schools, your district, in the state of North Carolina, and in the country. We want to be sure that you're ethically and professionally engaged with your content here in Wright and in your school settings when you get your first teaching contracts. And finally, we want you to be knowledgeable and conversant with socially just principles and practices. So overall, the philosophy of this course is designed to ensure that each one of you achieves each and every one of the dispositions that are listed on this slide. The design and flow of this course ensures that you will become reflective and responsive professionals, that you will be able to think critically about the factors that have shaped and continue to shape education and schooling in the United States today and in the future. We all know that the relationship between society and its education system is a complex one. The way citizens experience education in this country, it affects and is affected by the issues of the day. We will be considering and exploring how the complex factors of race, class, gender, sexuality, religion, and other cultural factors influence and are influenced through formal public schooling in this country. Broadly, the goal for the next 16 weeks is for you all to develop critical social justice literacy skills so that you'll be able to express all of these characteristics on the slide of proficient teaching, and develop some critical social justice literacy skills in order for you to effectively address inequities systemic to education and policy, practice, and achievement related to a variety of student demographics. This course overall is intended to help you develop your pre-service teaching repertoire in order for you to engage your research, learner, collegial, and change agent teacher identities. That's a lot. But I think this is a good class to give you the introduction to this. So let's look at our goals and objectives for the course. So bear with me because there are a lot of them here, but I think it's important that we get a handle on where we're going. So by the end of the 16 weeks, you can see, did I acquire these skills? So now, we're going to be looking at critically examining the purposes of education and schooling in the United States. It is the objective that you gain some basic knowledge into the historical development of the United States public school system, that you become familiar with those forces that shaped education in this country and the educational reform that is ongoing at the federal, local, and school levels to bring about new processes within education. You're going to definitely critically examine the social, historical, and philosophical themes that shape the system, and you can see system is bolded and italicized. We're going to be looking at systems and how they work for the benefit of some and the detriment to others, and examine those themes in relation to your own belief systems regarding the education process. I hope that you all will reflect critically on your personal beliefs, attitudes, and experiences regarding your school experiences and those broader contexts that we've discussed here generally, so you can make connections between your professional dispositions and the teaching and learning process. You're going to be able to effectively communicate ideas and questions in our critical class discussions. At the end of this presentation, you'll see how this will come about. Weekly, you all will be evaluated on how you participate in these discussions in the classroom. This is going to be through personal writings, your group interactions, and the assignments that you will be required to complete that focus on the course content. It's expected that you all are going to be full and intellectual participants in our critical and analytical learning community. I hope that this will increase your appreciation of the intellectual, political, moral, and cultural diversity within and outside of the public schools that you all are going to be serving in. You're going to be able to identify and analyze how identity affects individual school experiences, individual lives, and teaching philosophies of education. This course is going to help you facilitate your understanding of the variety of ways in which power, privilege, and justice operate implicitly and explicitly in our society and our school system. And finally, you're going to have some skills to increase your ability to converse on a wide range of issues concerning diversity and how they relate to the historical and contemporary issues of our present education system. This is to develop a foundation which to grow in your moral leadership and activism as a public school teacher once you graduate, and hopefully you will have gained a sense of importance of ongoing and critical professional development as an educator once you leave Appalachian. It's our intent that you become an advocate for the students and the families that you serve, and that you actively work as a change agent in whatever school setting, district setting, or national education role that you take on as a professional. Woo! So, this is a heavy lifting of goals and objectives for all of us. Each one of you is going to have to rely on your critical thinking and reflective practitioner skills in order to find success in this course. It's not going to be easy. Some of the content that we focus on is going to be a challenge to your current thinking, how you've been socialized in the education process, and hopefully you will be able to challenge your beliefs for validity and their usefulness in the classroom, basically. My personal expectation for you all is that you challenge yourself as you would in your role as a new teacher, with curiosity, thoughtfulness, and open to new experiences. You are going to see in the classroom that I refer to you all as education colleagues. You all are teacher-educator peers. We are going to remain in a professional posture in this course to enable your thoughts and thinking about critical issues that affect classrooms and schools across the country. So I want you all to think about our conceptual framework again, and section 4 talks about promoting a core set of professional and ethical dispositions. Disposition 3 says our goal here in Wright College of Education is to assist our candidates in developing behaviors that will provide us with an indication of their commitment to reflective practice. Good teachers are reflective. Good teachers reflect on what they do every day in the classroom with their students and with their colleagues to make sure that everybody is moving along the same journey towards equity and access to a free and public education that serves a wider purpose of creating better lives for those who participants in our education system. We expect candidates to reflect on and actively use feedback from mentors, evaluators, and instructors in our course and from each other. Pre-service teacher candidates are also expected to engage in reflective self-analysis about their own teaching performance and the learning performance and behaviors of all of their students, clients, or other learners. You all are going to have a lot of practice with this in our education teams, ed teams for short. This is where you all are going to critically look at actual classroom scenarios and analyze them from a teacher practitioner lens to come up with ideas, solutions, and resolutions to some of the common problems that are faced in our school systems related to diversity, identity, and inclusive practices in the school. In one of our textbooks, Is Everyone Really Equal? I like the section that they talk about to maximize your learning of social justice content. They provide you all with some of the following guidelines here. This is on page 4 of your Is Everyone Really Equal? Number 1, they say strive for intellectual humility. Be humble and objective as we go through some of this content. Again, it's going to be difficult at some points. It's going to be easier at other points. But if you maintain a humble disposition and open to learning new things, you're going to be golden in this class. Number 2, recognize the difference between opinions and informed knowledge. We are going to be focused on informed, research-based practice in this classroom. We all hold particular opinions about these topics, but this class is designed to get you delving into this content from the experts in the field and the most current peer-reviewed research related to equity, inclusion, and social justice topics. letting go of personal anecdotal evidence and look at broader societal patterns. So this is essentially, some personal stories are going to be appropriate, particularly when it asks for personal stories. But again, everything that we do in this course is going to be grounded in the literature on equity, inclusion, and social justice, and how these concepts are manifested in the education system largely and in our society generally. So all of our discussions should be critical and focused on the impact of these principles in the systems that we're a part of. Number 4, notice your own defensive reactions and attempt to use these reactions as entry points for gaining deeper self-knowledge. Again, this goes back to number 1, being humble and knowing that none of us know everything. And again, because sometimes this content can be difficult, we need to start processing how we're feeling when certain content makes us feel a certain way. If you're challenged by something, please feel free to call me, email me, get a face-to-face meeting with me so we can process some of the things that you're feeling in the class. But know that this course is developed for you to move deeper into knowledge about yourself and knowledge about others who are different from you. And then finally, recognizing how your own social positionality, like your race, your class, your gender, your sexuality, your ability, status, how those positions inform your perspectives on education, teaching and learning processes, and students in the classroom, and reactions to your instructor, me, and the individuals whose work that you're going to be studying in this course. Okay? How we view the world is based on our position in the world. And we are more than what people see on the outside. We are a culmination of our life experiences that come together and create our own worldviews. So thinking a little bit deeply about how you came to be who you are and how that's going to impact your teaching practice. So those are the guidelines that I just wanted to share with you all in terms of the goals and objectives of this course. I am extremely happy that you all are here and that we have a chance to get to know each other, that we have a chance to get to learn from each other. And I really and truly intend for this to be a safe space for everybody that's registered in this course. Again, if you're feeling uncomfortable, do not hesitate to reach out to me. I've been working with this content since about 1998, a long time. And even for seasoned education practitioners, this is still difficult content and information to process and discuss. So it's an ongoing journey, and please feel free to reach out to me. So what I'd like to talk about now is how we're going to make sure that this is a safe space, and talk about a few of the rules of etiquette in our online class, because we're going to be spending, like I said, all week together online. And some of y'all are going to be in some times that I'm not going to be in, and we're all going to be coming into the classroom at different times. I'm going to make an effort to be in the classroom 5 out of 7 days of the week. And I will have the As You Learn classroom open while I'm in my day job as advisor. But I will be monitoring to make sure that we are being respectful to each other, that we are being productive, and having very respectful interactions with each other. So this infographic, I've used it over the years in my online classes. I love it. It's very colorful. The link that's highlighted on the slide, infographic in all caps, if you click on that, that'll take you to the website for this, the full infographic. It pretty much encapsulates precisely the rules of the road when working in the online classroom. It's quick, to the point. I think you all will find it informative. I do have a couple things in the online classroom that I want to direct you all to. I've created a welcome video with some tips on being successful in the online class. I've created a public forum for you all to chat and talk about non-course related topics. Okay. I've also created a forum for you to talk about course related topics and questions that you have for me to answer in the classroom. Each week we're going to have a formal discussion room where you all are going to talk about the topics that we're going over in our lectures online. This is where the netiquette for online discussion boards is going to be critical to make sure that this is a safe space and that everybody feels that they're being treated with dignity and as a human being. Okay? Each of our discussion weeks are going to apply to the 15 rules, but I want to highlight a few of them here real quick before getting into the content for this week. So one, I need everybody, including myself, to respect the opinions of peers. We're all going to agree on some things and we're all going to disagree on other things. If you feel the need to disagree, do so respectfully. Not acknowledge the valid points in your peer's argument, and then develop your argument in a respectful manner in a response to your colleague in the class. In a discussion room, do not type in all caps, please. It is still representative of screaming, and I don't think that we need to scream at each other in class. Don't write anything that sounds angry or sarcastic, even as a joke. Okay? Writing online conveys different things to different people. Again, think about your positionality and where you're coming from in terms of your intersections, and how you perceive writing is very different for individuals. Okay? Tone from person to person and comment to comment can be easily misunderstood in the online setting, so please be careful with how you're putting your words together. Read it out loud is what I'd like to say before you click the submit button. If it sounds a little testy, kind of tighten it up and make it a little more open. Before asking a housekeeping question about the As You Learn site, be sure to use your online resources like the syllabus and the online course calendar that's going to be posted in the web page, in our As You Learn page. If you respond to a classmate's question, particularly in our question forum, and feel free to use that forum if I don't get into the question forum quick enough to answer somebody's question. Only thing that I ask from everybody is that if you decide to answer one of your colleagues' questions, make sure that you are 100% sure that the answer that you're giving is accurate. Please don't make any guesses or direct your colleagues to old or inaccurate information. That's just going to lead to disappointment for all of us. Okay? So if you want to answer a question in the question forum, that's totally okay. Just make sure that you are 100% sure of your response. Stay on the topic. Keep your contributions in the discussion area relevant and to the discussion at hand. And always, always, always avoid your opinions, anecdotal evidence, and work through our textbooks, our readings, our journal articles. If you are highlighting an opinion or an experience that you've had, please connect it to the research that we are reviewing each week. And finally, please and thank you. They're magic words even in the online environment. You will find that I like using emojis to lighten up what we're doing and to bring about some fun in the classroom. And I'll be checking on everybody individually and in the chat room that I've set up, that I told you that we will have to talk about non-course related stuff. I will check in on everybody. So I hope this is a good summary of how we're going to be polite and respectful and honor everybody as individuals with unique backgrounds and experiences. All right, so let's get moving on what we're going to be doing these next 16 weeks. This first section is a very brief introduction to the concepts that we will be using and talking about as it relates to identity, culturally responsive, and socially just education practices. All right, so this is the first textbook that is on the list of required textbooks that I sent you all last week in the email. I did get some replies to everybody. I will respond to those replies. I've just been trying to get everything set up for you all. So, is everyone really equal? The second edition is the one that you all need to be purchasing. I am not sure, because I got this class assigned to me fairly late, I'm not sure of the amount of books that are in the bookstore for the 3 texts that we're going to be using in class. I had to buy mine. I bought and rent mine on Amazon. And everything that I got for the 3 books was no more than like $22 on my Prime account. So I would suggest that you all set up a Prime account with your appstate.edu email address, and I think you get like 6 months of free Prime where you can have stuff shipped to you within 2 days. So if you haven't done that, I would highly suggest that. That student account's pretty handy. Just want to let you know. So this is the first textbook, Is Everyone Really Equal? An Introduction to Key Concepts in Social Justice Education, 2nd edition. So, these 6 items are going to be the areas where you're going to be working towards and becoming a master teacher in your career. You can see the citation at the bottom right corner. Gay is one of the articles for this week's readings that are, you'll see it in the As You Learn classroom at the bottom. The articles that we have, our article is there for you to review. These 6 items are related directly to how proficient you are as a culturally responsive educator when you start working with your students. The goal is to help you develop a working understanding of equity, inclusion, and social justice principles. You're going to begin to broaden. I hope that you've started to develop a cultural diversity knowledge base. We're going to broaden that here in this classroom. You're going to find ways to start designing culturally relevant curricula throughout your time in the College of Ed, lesson planning. Your lesson plans are a reflection of your belief systems and attitudes about teaching and learning and the students that you work with in your class. Designing culturally relevant and socially just curricula is a sign that you are maturing as a teaching practitioner, and this is the start on that process. Demonstrate and expand upon your cultural caring and build productive classroom learning communities and environments. That is your challenge. You will see later in this presentation some of the real challenges that are going to be faced with math and reading literacy as you walk into your future classroom. We're going to help you become more effective in your cross-cultural understandings across a variety of individual identities, belief systems, and backgrounds. And then maintain cultural congruity in your classroom instruction. What this means is that you are speaking and teaching what you believe, and that you believe what you are speaking and teaching in your classroom with your students. This article is one of the first of several reflective readings for week 1. You're going to see, I think there's about 8 in that folder of our electronic journals. You do not have to read all of those articles unless you want to. I want you to each week look at our readings and see how they relate to the discussion questions, the discussion prompts that we will be doing each week. And they're also there to help you designing the assignments and projects that we're going to be working on. All right, here's the second book that we will be reading from. This is a very human look at equity and inclusion. It's kind of like a first-person accounting of working with diverse persons from a wide range of cultures and backgrounds and identities. I think that Mr. Steele does a great job, Dr. Steele does a great job in personalizing this content for us, and it will give you a window and insight into the student communities that you're going to be serving. All right, the big 8 identities are race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender, disability, religion, spirituality, nationality, and socioeconomics, which is basically a big word for class. I want to just give some operational definitions of these, and I'm going to create an interactive glossary in our As You Learn site that's going to include the basic definitions that we're all going to work from in terms of these identities. I say the glossary is interactive because each one of you all will be able to contribute definitions that you come across in your reading and working through your projects. Feel free to, if there's a word or a concept that you feel is particularly important for all of us to understand and be exposed to, if it's something that gave you an aha moment when you read it and understood it, please feel free to contribute to that glossary. So, race for our purposes in this course is, it identifies a group that's socially defined, but on the basis of physical criteria, including skin color and facial features. So race is a visible indication of a person's racial identity. Ethnicity, that relates to a person or to a large group of people who share a national, cultural, and or linguistic heritage, whether or not they reside in their countries of origin. Sexual orientation, this is an emotional, romantic, sexual, spiritual, affectional, and or relational attraction to another person or persons. One's sexual orientation is not necessarily associated with a person's gender identity. The two can be completely unrelated. Gender. This is who a person sees themselves as. A woman, a man, a transgender, genderqueer person, a combination, or in none of these ways. Gender identity may or may not conform to the conventional expectations for their birth sex. Ability/disability is the physical or mental capacity to do something or perform successfully. Religion or spirituality, as we will work through this course, is an institutionalized or personal system of beliefs and practices relating to the divine. Nationality is the identifier expressed by the individual's country of origin, and socioeconomic is the social standing based on income and or one's position in society. Okay, you'll see the citation in the bottom corner of Tatum 2000. That article is listed in our, it's attached in our folder of articles for week 1. I suggest that you kind of read through that. It's a pretty good articulation of identity and easy to understand article. It's important that we understand that the classrooms that we serve are going to be comprised of students that express one or more of these identities. I'm sure that each one of you sees yourself in multiple positions within this list. I know that I do. We all need to get comfortable with these definitions and how they are manifested by the students that we serve, and how it impacts how they construct knowledge, how they see the world around them. This is not inconsequential. This is very consequential thinking for teachers today and at all levels. New teachers, master teachers, teachers on their way to becoming master teachers. Mastering these identities and understanding what they mean for privileged statuses and how our individual privileges inform and support the development or the implementation of our socially just practices. Okay? We're going to be looking at classroom systems of power and authority through these identities. So we're all privileged in one or more of these areas. It doesn't matter if you are racially privileged or socioeconomically privileged or anything in between those two ends of the identities. We all need to see how our privilege impacts our practice. All right, so this is where we are for the 16 weeks in terms of culturally responsive teaching and how we're going to build more socially just environments for the students that we serve. All right, so Education Foundations is not complete without a study of public education and where it came from. The common school historically is the start of the modern public school that we are in today. Okay? This took the place of the colony schools for the rich. It was a brainchild of several men, but Horace Mann is considered the father of the common school, with the goals of moral training, discipline, patriotism, mutual understanding, formal equality, and cultural assimilation. Okay? This version of school was influenced by the works of some European educators, and the Americans in the early 19th century took some of these concepts to create the vision of the common school as a benefit to societal development in the New World. Okay, so for Horace Mann, the primary force behind the common school was a necessity to preserve national institutions and to create a public and political community. And these goals of the common schools were designed to create that community. It was designed to prepare the children of all religions, classes, and ethnic backgrounds for the intelligent and responsible exercise of citizenship in the New World, in America. It was common, according to Salmon, in the sense that it was going to be open to all and free of charge, which is the basis of public education still to this day in the 21st century. It would develop a common core set of values, a public philosophy, if you will, which intermingled the principles of religion, politics, and economics in a vision of a nation that is designed to redeem everybody. So the cultural assimilation was the biggest piece in terms of that Redeemer nation. Horace Mann envisioned that this school would create a class of Americans, quote unquote, that would build this political community that is America. So what I want y'all to think about throughout the next 16 weeks is how the conception of the public school via this common school in the 19th century was the first point in time where inequities were built into the system of education in this country, and how they connect to the systems of inequities and injustice in our public schools today. So thinking about who was privileged enough to attend these common schools in the 1800s, who was excluded from the benefits and goals of this common school system. So was this really a school for everybody? That's what I need y'all to start thinking about in terms of how we are today in public education. Is public education really for everybody? Why or why not? So we're going to be discussing in weeks 2 and 3 the historical and legal foundations of our current education system. We're going to be looking at how these ideas were or were not reconciled with principles of freedom, justice, everything that the Constitution espouses for liberty and the pursuit of happiness, and the worth of all humans to be afforded the right to a free and public education in this country. This is a critical aspect of this foundations course, because if we don't know these foundations of how public schooling was founded, there's no way that we're going to be able to create new systems that fulfill the vision of a free and just education for everyone. So the Salomon article is also in our weekly readings. That's a pretty long article. It's the legal and historical foundations of the public school system that we know today. We will use that article this week, next week, and the week after as we look at the historical and legal foundations of public education. And then finally, we're going to be looking at the philosophical foundations of education. This is going to be a fairly significant aspect of the course. You all are going to be designing your own education philosophy. If you have one, you're going to be revising and fine-tuning your education philosophy. And we're going to look at, in week 3, John Dewey, who was an American pragmatist who reconceptualized what public schooling was to be about. Okay, he saw school as being a social and transformative process. He saw education as being a social and transformative process. His My Pedagogic Creed is his philosophy of education. It's made up of 5 articles. Article 1 talks about what education is. Article 2, he defines what the school is. Article 3, he defines what the subject matter of education should be. Article 4, he talks about the pedagogy, the nature, and the method of delivering instruction and education to the masses. And then finally, in Article 5, he talks about schooling and how it promotes social progress. Okay, he was heavy, along with his colleagues in the Chicago pragmatist group in the early 1900s. They really were promoting that language, literature, cultural ideas, a moral and spiritual outlook, and religion were to be recognized as cultural differences in the school, and how they transform an individual as they move through the system of education. So I kind of want to give you an idea of his belief system in Article 1 here. You all need to start thinking about, what do you actually believe about these 5 things? What do you believe about what education is supposed to be? What the school is supposed to do? What should be taught in public schools, and how should that content be taught in public schools? And what is the purpose of school as it relates to social progress in our country? So he starts out in Article 1, and he states that he believes that all education proceeds by the participation of the individual in the social consciousness of the human race, and that through education, the individual gradually comes to share in the intellectual and moral resources which humanity has succeeded in getting together. The individual becomes an inheritor of the funded capital of civilization. Okay? So from the time that we are born through the time that we become participants in this society, we will have gained the skills and knowledge to create a better space in our society through our education processes. Second, he believes that the only true education, it comes through the stimulation of the child's powers by the demands of the social situations in which he finds himself. And this is particularly relevant, as you're going to see on our next slide, is that we need to foster, as educators, clear pathways for students to be able to construct how they make meaning in our classrooms. And it is our responsibility to provide a productive and positive climate for students to do so. Now, this belief statement that he says, this is where I want you all to kind of sit with for a little while, particularly as it relates to what we're going to be talking about with inequities, social justice, a lack of social justice foundation in the school. He said, I believe that this educational process has 2 sides, one psychological and one sociological, and that neither can be subordinated to the other or neglected without evil results following. I'll say this again. Do we believe that the educational process has two sides, one that's psychological and one that's sociological, and that neither of them can be subordinated to the other or neglected without evil results following? So from now until literally the end of our course, I want you all to unpack this belief statement in the context of our course goals and what that means in terms of being equitable, inclusive, and socially just educators. Okay? The Dewey, the full My Pedagogic Creed is also in our articles for the week. And then finally, we're going to look at actual teaching philosophy and perspectives of cognitive constructivism and social constructivism. These are frames of reference in terms of what teachers believe and how students make meaning of what they're being taught. Okay? And it is all about that we make meaning and construct our knowledge as individuals and in our interactions with the people around us. Okay? So cognitive constructivism is focused on how you make meaning within yourself and when you're interacting and engaging with content using your own personal strategies. The social constructivism is related to the means and methods that people use with group interaction in the classroom, in the learning environment, where the relationships and how the interactions among the group work to create a larger meaning of the context being studied. So, as teachers, we need to be able to discern when to use each one of these methods in the classroom to foster the learning of our students. So these are going to be important concepts for you to think about, particularly as you're developing your education philosophy statements for this course. And then again, the citation, Powell and Kalina, 2009, you will find a full article that is grounded in the theories of Piaget and Vygotsky, where these philosophical perspectives emerge from in their theories of learning and development. All right, so this is the summary. We're going to be looking at these three areas: the culturally responsive teaching, education system foundations, and education philosophical perspectives. How we work with this content is going to happen in a variety of ways in our As You Learn environment. Again, this is a fully asynchronous learning environment. That means that there is not going to be live interaction within the classroom. You all are going to be responsible for your attendance and participation each week. I'm going to be responsible for my attendance and participation each week, and I'm going to make a very concerted effort to make sure that you all have a picture of your performance every week. Okay? You all are going to have weekly online discussion forums. You're going to have individual writing assignments and an inquiry project assignment that's going to have three parts. It's a research paper that's going to have three aspects to it that we'll talk about later on in the course, in the week, maybe next week in week 2. You all are going to be working, like I said, in education teams. Your ed teams are going to be working on case studies of actual classroom school events. And you're going to be responsible for documenting how you all are making meaning in your ed teams. So we're going to be doing some social constructivism practice in this class. You all are going to create a commitment to each other this week. It's called an Ed Team commitment page. You all will create that. Those are the norms that you all will adhere to in your groups. And then each week that you do and submit a case study, you will submit a log of activity and how you all perform together during that week to get your assignment case study completed. You're going to have some personal reflections that we're going to be working on formally, and then, like I said, you're going to create a personal philosophy of education paper. All right? And all this will be outlined in the As You Learn site. Here's our final text. Case studies on diversity and social justice education. This is where we are going to work with the Ed Team case study analyses. Okay, they're going to come straight from this book. And again, I'm not sure, like I said, about the bookstore inventory, but I know that this is a cheap rent on Amazon. Okay. So briefly, just going over the Ed Team, how you are going to analyze your cases. This case study book, one, it details a scenario in a school or a school district. Okay, you are going to need to read through it and understand some of the issues and concerns that are in the issue of the week. And then you are going to follow these 7 steps to complete the 3 discussion questions at the end of each case. Okay, you're all going to have to come together as a team to document how you went through these 7 steps, and then formally submit responses to the questions at the end of the case and upload those into the As You Learn site. Okay, so this equity literacy process is what Gorski and Pathini talk about in how to use this book. It's a 7-step process where you all are going to come together in your Ed Team to identify the problem or multiple problems posed by the case. Realize that there are issues inside these case studies that cover a lot of ground, and you all are going to have to work through what's happening with the people inside of these vignettes that are given here. You're going to have to think about the perspectives of everybody in the write-up. Where are these people's positions in the story? How are they impacting what's going on in this story? Okay? What are the possible challenges and opportunities that are faced by everybody inside the particular case for the week? And then I need you to come together as a team to discuss what is going to be equitable and just in the situation. And this is going to come from the readings in our books and the readings in our electronic peer-reviewed journals. Equitable outcomes have to be grounded in the research and the practice. So I'm going to give you a hint today. Is everyone really equal is going to be your go-to guide for step 4 of this case analysis process. Then and only then, after you all have really dug in the research and the guidance in our textbooks and journals, then you're going to go to step 5, 6, and 7. Brainstorming, crafting a plan of action, and then actually responding to the questions at the end of the scenario. We'll go through some of these in class, and hopefully you all be able to discuss some of your responses to these case studies, because I think everybody's going to have different responses. Know that there's no one right answer for these. These are ways for you to practice what you all are learning in terms of being equitable educators. All right. So this is just a preview and something to get you all thinking about the students that you're going to be serving when you get your own classrooms. The National Testing Program here, the National Assessment of Education Progress, is an annual test across the country, and I don't think everybody does it every year. I know that I've administered this test probably 3 times in the middle schools that I've worked in. It's a math, reading, and science standardized test that measures literacy in those areas. So I looked up the 27 performance for North Carolina students and was fairly surprised at some of the reporting. So you all can look at this in more detail, but I want to ask you a couple questions for you to think about as we go through this equity and social justice content and what that means for actual on the ground literacies for students in the K-12 classroom. Because ultimately we're responsible for making sure that students perform on these tests, and I am definitely not a proponent of teaching to the test, but I believe that when our classrooms become more inclusive, equitable spaces for students to learn, we won't have to teach to the test. I've spent my classroom and administrative career working with students at risk of educational failure. I've never taught to a test. I was a math remediation teacher for 6th grade students and was able to successfully build spaces for my students where they felt safe, where they felt respected, where they felt like they were human beings in a process of teaching and learning, where they were able to access the materials, the math literacies that I was attempting to help them make meaning with. And I did fairly well. I'm going to toot my horn a little bit. So here's North Carolina. This is 4th grade reading and writing. I'm sorry. 4th grade reading, 8th grade reading, proficiencies for female, male, farms, which is a socioeconomic indicator of poverty, not poverty, Hispanic, Black, White, Asian, and 2 or more identified racial identity students. Okay, I've posted the full reports of the reading and math in our As You Learn classroom. You can pull these reports, but what I want you to think for both these, the math and the reading, is what do these data show you about the students that have taken these reading and math tests? Okay, what are some conclusions that you can come up with from a professional perspective that you might need to focus on in your social justice literacy development, equity of classroom environment literacy, and your inclusion literacy development as a teacher? What do these data say in terms of how you need to move forward? Here's the math. Same thing. Same 3 questions. What does this data show you for each of these demographics? Who's at basic? Who's at advanced? Who's at proficient levels for both the reading and the math scores? Why do you think that is? When we're going through the material in this course, relate back to these performance reports and see if there's any correlations you can make to the systemic practices that we see in terms of equity and inclusion in our schools and classrooms. So in these reports, at the bottom, and I would recommend that you download them and kind of look at them and see what's happening in terms of these literacies. But in the bottom of the reports, it gives you some historical perspective. For instance, in 2017, black students in both grade levels, okay, had an average score that was 37 points lower than that for white students, which I think we all know about the achievement gap. But this performance gap has not changed since the year 2000. Okay? The analysis shows that this performance gap was not significantly different from that in the year 2000, where it was 35 points lower for black students as compared to their white peers. Okay? Hispanic students had similar demographics, but we can't make any comparisons because this data was not reported for Hispanic students. However, Hispanic students had an average score that was 23 points lower than that of their white peers in the classroom. Okay? Male students in North Carolina and female students in North Carolina had an average score that weren't significantly different here. But the students who are eligible for free and reduced price school lunch, which is the FARMS category up there, it's an indicator of low family income. They had an average score that was 32 points lower than that for students who were not eligible for free and reduced price school lunch. Okay? And again, comparing to the year 2000, the gap was at 28 points. So it actually got worse from then until 2017. Okay? These are just, I want you to start thinking critically about why these data and performance ratings are the way that they are, and think about your beliefs about why they are, and then start to think critically about some of the research that shows and demonstrates why some of these data are the way that they are. Again, the full reports for all 4 grade levels are in our electronic reading for the week. Okay? This is just to get your brain thinking about equitable classroom environments. All right, housekeeping. I'm going to post an online course schedule by the end of the day today. I'm still working out some deadlines on some of the assignments, so you'll get that. I just need you all to acknowledge that you've read it by Friday of this week, so I know that everybody understands the expectations of them. And I'm going to say it again, this is a fully asynchronous course. We will not be in the classroom together, but there are attendance and participation requirements that you are going to have to adhere to in order to earn the grade that you want for this class. Okay? And again, I can't stress, communicate with me on the phone, by email, in the As You Learn site. Come see me if you're in the College of Ed building. If I'm not with a student, my door is always open. Okay? I have on the next 2 slides the rubrics. This presentation is going to be uploaded today, by the end of the day today, so you will have a copy of this presentation. But I wanted to share with you the participation rubric today for our discussion expectations and the attendance expectations. So let's look at participation. All right. This is how you all are going to be graded on the discussion questions, and you'll see them in the As You Learn site. You probably noticed them for week 1. Participation is 10 points a week. So the expectation is that you only need to choose one discussion topic to respond to, okay, from your own critical analysis of the content for the week. If you look at the second line item, the second row, your responses have to relate new and old information or relate course information to your personal experiences. Again, we are not looking for opinions. We're not looking for anecdotes. We are looking for critical analysis of actions and behaviors of yourself as pre-service teacher. You will then have to respond to one of your colleagues' posts in the classroom. And if you look at the fourth line item, reply to a colleague, you're going to have to discuss one point that you like or agree with and one point that you dislike or disagree with, and you have to explain why, not from your personal opinion, but grounded in the context and information from the research that we're going to be talking about. Okay? And then all of your posts need to be a minimum of 250 words and no more than 400 words. Okay? So this is your 10 points a week for participation and discussion questions. I'll be more than happy to answer questions for you, for everybody. Just post them to the question thread in our As You Learn site. So here's attendance. You all are required to be in the classroom. Again, we are asynchronous, so that means that you're going to have 24/7 access to this classroom. And if you're someone who likes working in the middle of the night, I think that you will find this delivery format, of course, amenable to how you study. If you are a person that likes to work in the morning, when you get up and you're productive in the morning, you will also find a benefit to this course. All that you need to do, you need to be actively present in the room, in the As You Learn site. Your time in As You Learn is logged from the time that you sign in and click on the course till the time that you leave. You have access to those logs. I have access to those logs. Those are the logs that I will use to see your attendance in the classroom. Okay? So, course room presence. The hours in the course are related to the suggested minimum times for online coursework and study and time on task in the online classroom. The recommended hours per week is 2 for every 1 credit hour. So this is a 2 credit hour class, so 2 times 2 equals 4. So the minimum that I expect you to be in the class is 4 hours of time per week. Okay? Our class week is going to run from Tuesday to Monday. Tuesday is day 1, Monday is day 7. You need to be in the classroom 4 days a week with a minimum of 4 hours for the whole 7 days. Okay? Again, if you have questions, shoot me the questions in the question forum. Alright, I think that's enough. We're at almost an hour and a half on this introduction. I hope it was helpful. Here's my little memes. I love memes. So I hope that you have a great first day of class. You had a first great day of class, and that your first week of classes is productive, and that you are ready to go and be successful for this fall semester. I'm looking forward to working with you. And again, I'm going to post this, a copy of this PowerPoint in our week 1 thread for you, so you can access some of this material. But go ahead and get started on the discussion questions if you like. Again, You can choose the time when you want to be in class and how you want to navigate your 4 days. Be mindful when I post the online course schedule, you will have all the due dates in one spot, in one document. I suggest that you put those due dates on your calendar so you know when to upload all of your assignments. All right, I will talk to y'all soon. Have a great first week of class. Take care.